The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Getting to Know You. My name is Joe Nash. Today we're going to be talking to Chris Hawver. He's the Executive Director of the Albany Pine Bush Preserve Commission. I think most people know where it is. The Discovery Center is on a New Carner Road between Washington Avenue Extension and Central Ave. Most people are going by it. So welcome back, Chris.
Thanks, Joe.
Now, it's been a while since you've been here, so why don't we're going to talk about some events this fall and some of the future plans and some new things that have been going on there.
Okay.
Why don't we go back to the beginning? Not 20,000 years like your like your website says.
Just a little background.
A little bit. Yeah.
Is.
Tell us about the Pine Bush. You know what it is, where it is. People think it's not just that little area around the Discovery Center. It's the whole. There's houses, there's stores. There's a lot of people on there, and just go into a little bit sort of the boundaries. It's about 6,000 acres.
Currently protected is about 3,300.
Okay.
6,000 remains.
Okay.
Yep.
And just tell us where it is in location and why it is important to preserve and the uniqueness of it, which is...
Sure. So the Albany Pine Bush is, that's a local name given to this pine barrens habitat or ecosystem. It's an inland pine barrens, which is different from coastal pine barrens like you would have in Cape Cod, Long Island, New Jersey. So this is inland.
And then that's pretty unique, isn't it?
Very unique. It's home to 69 species of greatest conservation need, and that's a term that's used by the New York State DEC in this wildlife action plan that they have in monitoring these rare and threatened and endangered species. One of those is the federally endangered cardinal blue butterfly, which people hear a lot about.
Yep.
But so this pine bush preserve that we have, it's 3,300 acres. It spans between the city of Albany and the towns of Colonie and Guilderland. It's the largest open space area that we have in the capital region. It's bigger than Thatcher Park, it's bigger than Grafton, it's bigger than Saratoga Spa. But people don't know where the boundaries are.
Oh yeah, I know.
So it basically goes from Fuller Road down by Rensselaer Lake or 6 Mile all the way up to the county border, Schenectady County border, and then it's in between Western Avenue and Central Avenue.
But I think a lot of people think, when you think of a preserve, you think it's separate from buildings and stores and houses, but there's actually a lot of stuff living and working on it.
Right. So the preserve itself is protected area. It's protected open space, but it's this jigsaw puzzle. So one of the things we're trying to do is put this jigsaw puzzle together to protect more land. But in between, there's people's homes, there's businesses, there's roadways, but there's still a lot of open, undeveloped area left that we'd like to protect.
And one thing I was looking at your website, I should say it's albanypinebush.org.
Yep.
There's a good website. They got all kinds of information and events and everything. But one thing from looking at your website, I wanted to ask you about is this area, the Pine Bush, is it in any danger of not being protected?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, we have, like I said, there's over 3,000 acres protected now, and that's forever. You know, people use that term like forever wild, which is really for the Adirondacks or the Catskill.
So that could never change.
Right, but it is protected. What isn't protected is there's another, say, over 2,000 acres of land that's out there that's pine bush habitat, that's undeveloped, that's not for sale, or if it is for sale, it's in a situation where we wouldn't be able to buy it because it's above fair market value. But that's land it could easily be developed and it could be lost.
So it's contiguous with you guys.
It is.
Okay.
It is. It's within our study area boundary.
So it's 2,000 acres that
could be developed. Could be developed or could be protected. And, it's one of the things that we do and our staff do is we pursue property owners to ask them if they're interested in selling their property. And then we work with the state or our other partners, federal partners, to try and acquire that land.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So I noticed on your webpage, I was going to try and get a few questions here. You have a 2017 management plan. but it was like over 100 pages. So I don't know. So I mean, why don't you
Sure.
just mention that?
Sure.
And what,
Yep.
what it is, what it's for,
Yep.
and it's only a draft, but that's obviously something for to help in the preserve in the future. And keep things-
Exactly. So the Albany Pine Bush Preserve was set up by state law in 1988, and then the commission that I work for that oversees this preserve was set up as part of that law. That law requires us to have a management plan. The last management plan was adopted in 2010.
Okay.
And that's basically the cookbook. It talks about how to manage habitat, how to develop the trail system, education and outreach programs, the Discovery Center, budget, and it's an environmental impact statement. So it went through public review and adopted back in 2010. The law says it needs to be reviewed every 5 years. So our board looked at it and said to the staff and a subcommittee, review it and see if it needs to be updated. So we've gone through this process basically throughout 2016, and we've come up with a new updated draft.
Oh, okay. I see.
So it's more or less a supplement because the current management plan is
Still in effect, or
yeah, it's still I wouldn't say appropriate, but it's still it's still completely functional and up to date, except for some things like we can talk about the National Natural Landmarks, some of the things that we've been
so-
designated. So those are the things that we've updated.
All right, so it's like an
Facts and figures,
Okay.
and so that's out for public review. We released it just a week ago. It's on our website. The public can comment on that through the end of November.
Can they do that on the
website?
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, good.
Yep. There's an email specifically. I believe it's managementplan@albanypinebush.org.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Well, the other thing about the preserve, you have the big Discovery Center there on New Corner Road.
Yeah.
You have all kinds of events, classes, trails. Why don't you talk about some of the things that people can do there? You have
Okay.
a lot going on.
Yeah. So the preserve, you've got this large open space area. It's got over 20 miles of marked trails, open for all kinds of passive recreation, running, hiking, mountain biking, hunting and fishing are permitted.
Are permitted?
Are permitted.
Oh, okay.
Within appropriate seasons and regulated by the state.
Okay.
And then we have the Discovery Center, which is our interpretive center. We do a lot of programs there. We have roughly 30,000 people that come through there a year. A lot of them are school groups, but a lot of them are family groups. Upcoming after Thanksgiving, we always have one called the Waddle Walk.
Okay.
So you can work off your Thanksgiving Day dinner.
Well, this is amazing to me because I guess I was telling you before we started, I've gone past it a million times, and I see people walking on trails.
Yeah.
But there's 20 miles of trails.
20 miles. So, so we have trail maps for all the different areas, and each region has a blown up version of their trail map.
Okay. And you have okay.
And these are also on the website. And then on the back, it has the entire trail system. So you can see where all the trails are, where the trailheads are, and where they start. The trailhead at the Discovery Center on 155, that's certainly the most popular. And it's a nice short walk that people can do. But there's a lot longer ones. The longest one is a 2.9 mile trail now that goes all the way out to the Gilliland DiCaprio Park, where the soccer fields are.
Do all the trails start at the Discovery?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
I didn't
No, there's some that start in a whole variety of places. Kings Road and Colonie, at the end of Madison Avenue Extension, the Dead End Road in Albany, ones in Gilliland. You can check them all out on the website.
Okay, and then are they all marked? What is it?
All marked.
The parking
trails are all
areas?
marked.
All right.
Trails.
Good.
The parking areas are marked, and then each trail is marked. So if it's considered the yellow trail, there's trail discs with yellow markers, or if you're colorblind, has a Y on it, so you can follow the yellow trail.
Okay. And are the ones for the trail bikes, are they separate, or you can take a bike on any of them?
You can take a bike on any of them, just as long as it's a marked trail. Horses are permitted too.
Okay. I've heard there's horses there.
People don't ride horses that often. This time of year, most of the time they'll ride in the spring where other areas are muddy. In the pine bush, because it's all sand, it doesn't get muddy.
So since this show will be on all fall and maybe into next year a little bit, what other kind of public programs that are sort of maybe you'd like to talk about that get some people out besides the Waddle Walk?
The Waddle Walk. We have a a science series we always have programs throughout the week when there's a school break. So for December break.
And you saw these people, families and kids and everything.
Yes, exactly. So we have, in December, we have what's called a Pine Bush Science Lab. And this brochure, we have them at the Discovery Center, they're here at the Colonie Library, they're at, and it's also available on the website. It talks about the different programs that are going to go on for that school break week.
And they for all ages. It looks the week
all
between,
ages
between the week between Christmas and New Year's.
Right.
Okay.
And we do that. We'll have another program series every day, Monday through Friday. School break in February as well.
Oh, okay.
It's always opportunities for families to do things.
I mean, I know. What's an example of a class?
They're geared towards kids ages 8 and up. So, for example, one is the first one on Monday, December 26th, is crystals, and it talks about how crystals form.
Oh, okay.
They do some stuff outside, do stuff inside, depending if it's not too cold. Tuesday, the 27th, is groundwater exploration. Wednesday is data collection, how to collect data. Of course, it's not too. It's fun. It's set up to be fun. Microscope magic is on Thursday, the 29th. Friday is an owl investigation, so it's all science-driven.
Okay. Now, are these all free?
Programs are $3 a person, $5 a family.
Well, that's a good deal.
Unlimited. If you have a family of 8, if you have a family of 15, it's $5.
Very good. So now, how are they? When you usually get a lot of, is that usually a popular event every year?
Yeah, especially most of our programs sell out. We had a program today, and it sold out. It's nature investigation, where you take folks out because it's the Jewish holiday today. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of people off, so we had a lot of people come, and the focus was to slow down, look at nature, look at things, and the small things with our environmental educators. They're all very good.
So there was no one walking around looking for the Pokemon thing, whatever that is.
No, we do. We do have there is a Pokemon gym at the Pine Bush, and I think there's 3 other stops.
All right, but you would not. I feel you're encouraging people not to bring their devices out on the.
You can capture your Pokemon, get that done, and then go to a program.
You're trying to get away from all that when you're out there.
It gets people out, though.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. So another thing I've noticed on your website, and a little thing you mailed me, you've been recently, a year or 2 ago, you've been designated a national natural landmark.
Right.
And then not only the designation. What does that mean? And you have this little passport.
Oh yeah, so we've been designated as a national natural landmark, and that's not just the habitat, because the habitat is rare, but the sand dune system, the geology is something that was very unique.
So does Congress do that, or is it just?
It's through the National Park Service,
okay.
And you're actually designated through Congress and by the Secretary of the Interior.
Very good.
So we have what's called a passport cancellation station at the Discovery Center, so folks can buy your passport to the national parks. So this is National Historic Sites, National Natural Landmarks, and National Parks. So you go to different parks in different regions, and you have it stamped.
I see. And this is for nationwide.
This is nationwide.
All right.
This is even in U.S. territories. So at the Pine Bush, you get your Pine Bush sticker.
Oh, okay. And they stamp it like a
and stamp it.
Oh,
and there's that's free.
Yeah.
And it's a hobby a lot of folks do, and it's kind of a fun thing.
But getting designated
that's really significant.
It is.
It's a really big feather in the cap for the Pine Bush. And people say, well, does that mean you'll get more money? I don't know. Maybe it will, but it's nice to be designated at the national level.
So you're designated along with the Cape Cod Place and national parks, and so that's.
Yeah. So for example, we're designated along with this.
Same statuses.
Same statuses like the Statue of Liberty, FDR's home in Hyde Park,
Yeah,
Martin Van Buren's home in Kinderhook. The battlefield in Saratoga.
Okay.
So we share in some pretty important company.
You're in good company, yes.
I guess.
So, and your other new designation, I think this is a state thing. You're a Hudson River Valley Heritage Site.
Right. So we're a heritage site, and that's even more recent. We're a heritage site within the heritage site within the Hudson River Valley Heritage Area.
Okay.
And that's actually national, because there's heritage areas throughout the country. And this is a designation within the Hudson Valley in New York State for our site.
Oh, okay.
And that's specifically for the environmental aspects and attributes of the pine bush and the opportunities we provide for the public.
Okay. And then you were saying earlier, you have about 30,000 visitors at
30,000, roughly 30,000 for the Discovery Center. Overall for the preserve annually is about 100,000.
Now, do you ever get people from outside our area coming like to do research or anything? Or?
Yeah, quite often. And actually, we have people coming from out of our area, like out of the country, and they're in the area and they come to the preserve.
Really?
It's very interesting.
Oh,
but we do a lot of work with local universities. We're doing research work with SUNY Albany, Union College, St. Rose, Siena, SUNY ESF in Syracuse. I'm sure I'm missing some. But we do quite a bit of academic work.
Okay.
Our science staff work with Pete Cornell. We're doing a social science survey with Cornell.
It looks so sleepy every time I drive by. I mean, it's like, because, well, it's interesting because where the Discovery Center is, there's like a lot of natural growth, and it looks like
right. And that's why people say, "Why don't you mow your lawn?" Because it's native grasses that we're growing to identify it as habitat.
So another thing you have going on, this is going to last from December through February. Or I should say before we talk about that, again, go to the website, albanypinebush.org. There's a lot of activities and events and classes, and there's big calendars and maps. But between December and February, you're having a big photo exhibit. Tell us all about that.
So the photo exhibit, it's called a juried photo exhibit. So folks of any age take photos in the pine bush of anything of the pine bush. Could be a wetland, it could be a dragonfly.
But in your pine bush.
Yep,
Okay.
just in the Pine Bush Preserve. It could be kids walking on a trail, and they submit them, and then we have two. They're amateur photographers that are volunteers that have worked with us now for 3 years. They go through and they choose a top number of these photographs, and then they get displayed in the Discovery Center. So that'll start in December, and it'll go through February.
Right in there when you walk in.
Right.
How many photographs? Like the whole lobby, or?
Last year there was probably 30 that were hung up. There was probably 120 that were submitted.
Oh, good.
And some of them are very, very well done.
Yeah.
And you can't believe how well done some of them are with a phone. With a mobile phone.
With an
iPhone.
I know
they're really impressive. Impressive.
Well, so you were telling me before we started, you've been out there now 23 years?
I started in March of '93, and I worked in conservation science for the first 7 years, and then in 2000 I applied for the executive director position and was selected, and I've been there since.
All right. So you've seen a lot of changes and a lot of designations. Or
a lot of changes. What
can you say? Where do you see the future of the pine bush?
The future is I'd like to see it.
Well, yeah, give us that, what you might think.
I would like to see the future of the pine bush be, it continues to be recognized as an important resource for the whole capital region, but even more so, that more people recognize what it is, the benefit that it provides, how significant it really is, and it's right in the capital region, and that it grows. It grows to the 5,000 or more acres that we would like to see it. But certainly that it's well recognized.
Are you earlier you were talking about the other 2,000 acres that may or may not get developed? Are you guys always trying to buy parts? I mean, how's that work? Do you hope someday to incorporate those 2,000 acres into?
Yes. If you, for example, had a piece of property that was adjacent to the preserve, and you
was part of that ecosystem.
Exactly. We would approach you and ask you if you would consider selling it.
Okay.
And then we would work through a process working with the state of New York or the federal government to acquire funds to buy it.
Okay.
The problem is everything, we're a government agency, nothing works quickly.
Well, how did these areas, I don't know how far back the history goes, how did they become sort of part of it and yet private property? I mean, how did that happen?
Well, the private property that exists now has always been private property.
Okay.
It's just it happens to be part of this habitat type. The preserve itself is owned by the state. It's owned by Colonie and Gilliland. It's owned by the city. It's owned by the Nature Conservancy. All those partners of the Pine Bush Commission own that property, and it's all part of the preserve. The private land is different. Private land is just that. If you don't want to sell it and you want to develop it, or you don't want to do anything with it, that's your right.
So do you guys get on good with your neighbors there?
We try to. We try and communicate well with our neighbors, and particularly when we do habitat management, prescribed burns. We have control.
Yeah, I was going to
burns.
ask you about. You guys use what's it called? Fire management?
Yeah, fire management.
But is that
fire
sort of the way it has to be done there because of the?
Yeah, it's so the pine bush is what we call fire dependent. So the plants that are in the pine bush actually have to burn to release seed or to reduce competition or to promote growth.
Okay.
So without fire, they don't reproduce, or they basically senesce. They'll die off. So you can't have wildfires.
Yeah.
The way you used to, so we do small controlled burns to mimic the effects of wildfires.
Oh, you just what?
So we'll burn a 2-acre piece or a 30-acre piece at a time.
And then just, okay. And what do you, it has to be done every year or every?
No, it's basically, depends on the areas. It's every basic 5 to 15 years.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty interesting. Is it?
It's certainly an unusual thing to do in Albany, New York.
Yeah, well, that must be a little tough to manage, isn't it? Or
It's a complicated process with a lot of training and a lot of pre-planning that goes into it.
Okay.
We work closely with the DEC rangers. We work with the National Park Service, Fish and Wildlife, a lot of federal agencies that are all trained along with our staff.
Okay, so
it's very rigorous.
Oh, okay. So one other thing I guess I could ask you about, people can volunteer out there? How can someone become a volunteer, and what are some of the things they might do?
You could you go to our website, and one of the drop downs is Get Involved, and you can click on Get Involved to volunteer. We have a woman who's our community outreach coordinator. You could contact her. Her name is Erica Small. You could become a volunteer naturalist, where you work on the trails and interact with people and just monitor the ecological health of the preserve. You could be a preserve steward. You could work on cleanup days where we do trail maintenance. You could volunteer for bird banding, where we do migratory bird banding. You could volunteer to work in the Discovery Center. You could volunteer basically to do anything.
Okay.
Anything from trail work, stewardship, preserve stewardship, conservation science, environmental education, Discovery Center.
Okay. You don't take volunteers when you're doing the burn, though, do you? I'm sure some people would.
We do. You laugh. We actually have some volunteers that participate on the burns, but it takes so long to become certified, and the process you have to go through. You can't just
show up that day.
No, it's several years, and it's physical fitness training. It's very.
I know. I'm just sort of joking.
I know.
Just kidding.
I know. You didn't expect that answer.
So, all right. So, the Albany Pine Bush. You have this timeline before we end here. It goes back to 20,000 or 8,000 BC. I won't go through the whole thing, but it's very interesting. You have the timeline then it goes into the
back to the glacial period.
The glacial period. Then it goes into the 1800s, 1900s. Well, let me ask you about one event on here that I found interesting, because there's no explanation. It just says in 1858 was the Great Land Swindle. What was that? Or do you even know?
I can't remember.
Okay.
Oh, you put me right on the spot, and I can't remember it. I think
because a lot of this goes back to like the King's Highway.
It does.
And all this. Well,
I don't know.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to get back to you.
All right.
I'm going to go back to my office, and I'm going to look it up, and I'm going to call you.
The Great Land Swindle. All right.
Great Land Swindle.
There's a lot of events, classes, trails. There's all kinds of information.
Yep,
we have these at the library. The website is excellent.
Here's one of the trail maps.
Trail maps. Have we forgotten anything, Chris?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well then, thanks once again for coming. I haven't seen you in a few years. Glad to have you back more often.
Happy to come and join you anytime.
And I'm sorry I asked you that question about the Great Land Swindle.
I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to say. That's one thing I've learned.
Very good.
Never answer if you don't know.
That is
Say
correct.
you don't know.
Okay. And we'll see you next time on Getting to Know You.
Thanks, Joe.